advisor business, to promote it in the industry, and also to propel advisors and the advisor business to the future. I don't think there's anything more important than what you do as an insurance advisor. This is not to denigrate what is being done as financial planning or investment planning, retirement planning, or all those things. None of those. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is life insurance has a very important part in financial plans. And I've always said it's even more important than a financial plan because in many respects, it guarantees a financial plan. So let's get right at this so you get an idea what's going on. So in this case, I'm talking about, IMWNO. And this really stands for simply an idea, if money were no object. This is the hook line that we discovered a number of years ago that really makes a difference. As I think about this, I think about something that I learned years ago, the chassis plan. You'll earn a fortune. Simple way into a program that I think you can use as well. And I think it works with any program. It works at any level with some appropriate changes. It works with people in a high net worth market. It works in an average, a North American middle income taxpayer marketplace. It can work with anybody. So that's what it stands for. And why do we need it? Well, there's lots of things. Number one, I think prospecting, ever since the first study of prospecting or of problems advisors have back in 1927 by the $1 Million Roundtable, the number one problem advisors have is, prospecting. Always been. And I think the next step is not just finding these people, but converting them to the next step, getting them into your process. That's what this is. If money were no object, the universal sales starter gets you into conversion from both attraction as a prospect and then conversion to a client. So it's always been the biggest problem. And it's, I think, the real first step to financial planning. I say that because when I ask the audiences around the world, really, what's the CFP first, the first step in the 6-step financial planning process, routinely what I get is, I get people, that's kind of a confusing issue to them, setting goals. One guy said, driving over to their house, that sort of thing. But the real first step is according to CFP, and God bless those folks, but here's the thing, it says to engage the client in writing, step 1. I think the real first step is to entice engagement. That's what this is about. That's what the universal sales starter is all about, and I think the real first step. And the other thing is this, prospects really have no time today. Oh, by the way, they hardly ever did. When I started in the late 70s, it was still a problem. Well, I'm busy and I'm doing this. And I think we were busy with other things. Today, I think they might be overwhelmed. Doesn't matter whether you're in Alaska, as some of you are, or you're in Florida, or you're in Illinois, or you're in North Carolina, or in Arizona, or in Washington State. Anywhere, there's always something going on. You have kids, you have grandchildren, you have businesses, you have work to do as clients, as prospects. So it's a busy time. So we have to entice them to listen to us. And then finally, I think the reason is we need it is this. If you listen to my good friend Bill Cates, also an insider at Insurance WebEx and a great guy on referral prospecting, what you get from him is, I think he says this. He says, 90% of your time should be spent listening and 10% talking. Now, if that's true, and it very well may be, you better make really good use of your 10% of the time. You've got to make real good use of that. And that's what this is about. The universal sales starter idea helps you make very good use of it. And I think a great use at the beginning is, frankly, to entice people to listen to you so that you give them a reason to want to do this. You have to work at this so they want to. Now, my old buddy John Canary always says there's 3 things you can't do. He says, 1, you can't climb a fence leaning towards you. 2, he says you can't kiss somebody leaning away from you. And 3, you can't make somebody want to. But I think you can encourage them to want to and give yourself and them an opportunity to get the best possible information and to maybe make a change for their own lives. Let's remember this. Life insurance is a character product. If you have some, you buy some. And I can tell you something else. In fact, what I do know is this, is that if you don't own enough, you'll never sell enough either. It's a big consideration in the marketplace. By the way, one last thing I'll tell you before we move forward. I did some work with some top advisors, people in the 7-figure income range. Now, when I say 7 figures, what I mean is on the left-hand side of the decimal point, big producers. And there was a number of them, and we had this odd discussion about how much cash value they had in their permanent life insurance policies. And I was stunned, blown away, because I'd never really heard that particular angle. The numbers were like this. One had $3 million in cash value. Another had $800,000 in cash value. Some poor fellow only had $500,000. Another somewhere just over $1 million. Think about it. What a powerful thing that is. A way to build that enticement into the business. So that's what we're trying to do. Now, if money were no object, the idea behind this presentation, I think it's the ideal way to start any sales presentation. You can attach this to anything in the financial services business, like I said earlier, with the appropriate changes. It wouldn't take much. It entices engagement. It gets people to want to listen. And of course, that's what we want. 3, I think it's compliance friendly also. Now, it doesn't matter where you are, compliance is always fun. When I say fun, I mean kind of like teaching, sort of driving without brakes, open heart surgery, and teaching a vulture how to sit on your finger. That kind of fun. But it sets up your service. If money were no object, the sales starter really sets up your service. So you give away or you explain all the things you do at the very beginning so you don't miss anything. In that sense, it's compliance friendly. It also allows a prospect to start on what's their hot button first. And I think that's important too. You know, we might have lots of things we want to do, but what do they want to do? See, this is a conversion issue. How do you convert people into that new, into another way of thinking? How do you convert them from prospect to at least really hard-looking or hard-looking prospect, and perhaps, God love them, maybe a client? So that's what we're trying to do, and I think that's really important. I think it also gives you something to say very quickly. If we don't have a lot of time with clients, and I don't think we do, not anymore. I mean, goodness, some of this stuff can be done, and some of you already, I'm sure, are doing this work like I am today, looking at you. You could do this presentation like this, and there are certainly people in the greater Toronto area who are doing sales like this, face-to-face only through video. Can be done. It's an amazing thing. But I think it makes the awkward start of an interview much more comfortable, because it's not just, just sort of friendly talk, which you somehow have to transition to your sales presentation. It really starts at the beginning and gives you something to say, which is sales related, interesting, and doesn't waste a lot of time. When I started, I can tell you, we were told that 15, 20 minutes of kind of chit chat, I think. That doesn't sound like much of a word today, but chit-chat, to sort of get people warmed up to the idea. Not sure we have that time, whether you're in somebody's home or in somebody's office, or as a lot of people today, it was my friend Tom Hegna says, he has lots of people he works with and knows and clients of his who do all their business in Starbucks. In Starbucks. Think about it. So you better be good, and you better be sharp, and you better be fast. And that conversion will help you. I think it also creates a top-of-the-table worthy approach that you can use. Some of the ideas I'm going to be giving you here this afternoon really are ideas that I know top-of-the-table advisors use. Whether it's Van Miller, my buddy David Hull in Toronto, 30 years of top-of-the-table. And again, you might say, this is so simple, it can't be that easy. Don't be fooled by simple. That's how it all works out. That's what we're after today. So what are the components of this this program? My goodness. What are the components? Number one, there's this first contact thing. This is an approach, a telephone approach, an email, what I call a bionic approach, a bionic prospecting approach. By the way, what I mean by that is, we do this in AdvisorCraft and AdvisorCraft study groups, which you'll be seeing and hearing more about through Insurance WebEx over the next little while. We talk about being able to put together a 60-second video like this that you can use to pitch your business to clients, and then send it, upload that to YouTube, and then send that link around. That thing could become viral in your community. It could be prospecting when you're sleeping. You could be prospecting 24/7 if you have the right script. At the very end today, I'll explain to you why scripts are so very important in this business. You could use it, of course, in your email. You could put on your email signature. You can even remind people of this kind of stuff in person. And in fact, I think you need that. We'll talk about that today. It also provides you with a new client introduction script. What do you say at the very beginning of a program, even before you get to If Money Were No Object? And then third, of course, that sales starter idea, that ideal transition process from that introductory part, that very first piece, and then going to If Money Were No Object. So that's the way this goes. And then we integrate your existing relationship engagement, however you do that. And in most jurisdictions, there's some sort of relationship engagement. Certainly at the CFP program, there's a client engagement document requirement in that process. And we think, and I do here, we won't talk about this today in the 30 minutes I've got or so, but it is available to you if you're interested. I have a relationship engagement document, and you can email me, jr@jimruda.com, or Andre, who is on the line and does a great job for me, support@jimruda.com. We can help you with that too, get you that. So this is to go transition into your other fact-finding and the planning process, regardless of what it is in the financial services business. So first of all, what you need is a first contact script. That goes, what is that? Video prospecting approach. What is the approach you use for anything? What do you use in person? What do you use? Anywhere you want to get that over the phone. Good example, I guess. How do you do that? So let me just go and explain to you what I'm talking about. Now, these are the first three lines. They're all here, and you'll be able to have them, I'm sure, on the video, on the recording. But it goes like this. Has anyone reviewed your life insurance policies lately? And almost everyone says no. Now, if you're one of them, you could be overpaying, underinsured, and missing out on the latest and best financial security ideas. Hi, I'm Jim Ruda at ABC Life. I take policy reviews a step further than that and show you what kind of total plan is possible if money were no object. If money were no object. That's what we do with this. Now, of course, money is always an object, and that's where I come in. I help you sort through your priorities and your budget so you get the best plan for you, for your family, for your business. That's the approach that we take. So, would you have any objection to reviewing your life insurance policies with me? If not, give me a date, time, place, and I'll be there. Certainly that would work on a video, wouldn't it? Now, in just 25 minutes, I'll show you what's possible. If you find that you want to do something, well, then I can help you. And if not, well, of course, you've got a friend for life. So, finally, thank you for your time. I'm Jim Ruda at 416-689-7882. Now, let me take you back through this just quickly for a second so you understand what I'm getting at. Here's the deal. Has anyone reviewed your life insurance policies lately? One of the best questions you can ask today, one of the best approaches, if you follow me on Facebook, and I recommend you do, facebook.com/JimRudaTV. Every week I do a 4-minute video on an idea like this. And I think this is one of the hottest and simplest approaches possible. Because as I asked an audience just yesterday here, the question was this: how long should it take to do an annual review? I got one guy say, well, about 3 years. I said, for an annual review? Yes, no, all of a sudden. It always makes people laugh nervously. But that's kind of the deal, isn't it? How long should it take? The trick is this. Limmer tells us that 62% of Americans, at least, don't know what they have nor why they have it. And I think that might be understated in so many ways. I don't think people know. I'm pretty sure I don't know what I have, and I'm kind of interested in this, and I should be paying attention. You know what? We get busy. We forget. There's a great job for you. I think it's a perfect opening. And of course, the second line here, if you're one of them, this could be overpaying. You don't know what your problem is. And I think people think they are overpaying even if they're not. They scarcely ever are, but they think they are. And that's the hook that you've got. And then taking policy reviews to this level of if money were no object, that's what we're talking about, a little bit different. And then, of course, your job, and this is where you defeat robo-advisors or anything else that might come in to help sort of take away your business. Nobody is as good as you are, eyeball to eyeball with a client, to see and to understand what it is their situation is, what their problems might be, what they really think, and what they really feel about that stuff. Remember, it's a character product, life insurance, and the disability insurance, and all those things. These are character products. You can see, you can feel character, and that is critical in this business. And I think it helps you get into this case properly. And then here's a question. Would you have any objection to reviewing your life insurance policies with me? Now, I love this question because I probably heard it first in 1978. It's not new, but it is an approach that some top advisors are using right now, right this minute, primarily because, you see, here's the thing. This is a question where no means yes. Think about this. Would you have any objection to reviewing your life insurance policies with me? People want to say no, and they say no, they mean yes, you can do that. So that's a cool thing. It's a great question. And policy review is a value review, is a quality of program review. I work with an advisor, not far from this office, in fact, and the other day she was telling me, and this is a woman, with her own private aircraft, who flies every weekend, who's making a seven-figure income, doing extraordinarily well. She said one client recently told her, she says, well, he says, I have all my policies, I got all kinds, but I don't need any insurance, and brought in a shopping bag full of policies. But when she was done with it, she discovered that half of them weren't even enforced anymore, and the other half didn't total anywhere near what he thought. Because what you think you have and what you actually have can be extraordinarily different. And that's what you can do here. And that's what this is about. So in a few minutes, you get this thing, you have a number, that's your video, that's your approach. Now, the new client introduction. So we want to say, so we get from that, we get to see somebody. And this is the part of the interview we see or we do with them in an office setting, in their home, in a coffee shop, wherever. But this can work right from a script. All of these things, we put into a script, we have them, of course, at Advisor Craft, and we do that stuff. But I think this is the single best question to start an interview that you could ever use. Single best question. If you learn nothing else, if you like nothing else in this video today, in this program today, this is something that could make a huge difference. And it's simply this. Jack, before I start today, obviously there's a reason you agreed to see me today. Would you mind telling me what that is? It's a great first question because you need to know. They might say, well, you know what, Jim, you were so persistent, I thought the only way to get rid of you was to actually see you once. So that's what I'm going to do. And that's why I'm doing it. Well, that's good to know because I could say, well, gee, I guess, Jack, I better be pretty darn good today if I want to see you again. Is that right? Yeah, that's pretty good. So we're into that discussion. Or they could say, well, my brother-in-law passed away about 8 months ago, and I've been wondering about this. Or my neighbor died, or somebody got cancer, or somebody had a heart attack. Or you know what, we just had a new baby. Or I had a new grandson or a granddaughter. I just had a new granddaughter. I'm pretty excited about that. I just thought maybe you could help me with some of those things. Whatever you discover with that answer, with the answer to that question is stupendously useful. Never use that word in a sentence, but there it is, stupendously useful in helping you figure that out because they're telling you what to do to help them right now. And that's what you want to do, help them right now. Always easier to deal with clients than prospects. And if they give you an opening, man, you can drive a truck through it and you're there to help them. Now, there are other questions you can ask too. What experiences have you had with other financial advisors, with insurance agents, with other advisors of any kind? Find out what their experience is. Listen to them. Find out what their experience has been. What expectations or concerns do you have about me and possibly working together? If they're going to work with their brother-in-law or their sister-in-law or their brother or their cousin or their uncle, you should learn that relatively soon and not later on in the process. And this is a question that prevents that from happening. And what else? Now, how important to you is your family financial security or your business financial security to you on a scale of 1 to 10? Kind of circle that. This is like a 1-page. It's an agenda. As my buddy Jack Kinder used to say, well, Jim, you're working shoulder to shoulder with your client. This is simply a way, for you to understand where they stand with you. God rest Jack, what an outstanding man he was. But you want to do that. Where do they stand on this? Is it important to them or is it not important? If it's not important, say if it's a 3, it's a 3? Really, Jack? Why is that? Can you tell me more about that? This is how you get to know who these people are. Have you done any formal insurance or financial planning? And with whom and why have you done it? What's it look like today? Ask that question, also important. How do you feel you've done so far? How's your planning? Got that shopping bag full of stuff? A shoebox full of things, a great policy wallet. I've got a client who uses a policy vault, a big box that weighs about 35 pounds that he delivers his policies in, because it's $1 million, Jack. It's really important we don't lose that, right? That kind of idea. With whom do you usually consult on financial matters? Is there anybody else? Think about this. If they're going to check with their father, their mother, their cousin, their uncle, their neighbor, their bank manager, their stockbroker, my other insurance guy or gal, you want to know that. And you want to know it sooner than later because it makes a difference. And why? And what's important to them? You see, you're learning important information here in this run-up to the business. Do you have any questions about your current portfolio or about your planning? Maybe they've got a question that they want to ask. Now you can listen, right? You're making best use of your 10%. Is there anything else you'd like to ask me or right now before we get started about me and the work that I do? Is there any questions you have? Yeah, how did you get my name? Well, as you know, I got that referral from Bob because Bob had done some work with us. He thought you might just, as you know, off we go, right? Well, thank you. I know that I can help you and your family, certainly based upon your answers right now. I understand that. So I start with my best financial security advice first. It's what I do. We'll review your portfolio, of course, and we'll do that for you and give you a written report. But I want to give you my best advice if money were no object. Now, here's where the magic comes in, I think. This is the sales starter. This talks about, I want to tell you about what you could do if money were no object. Give you an example. We first got this together 10, 12 years ago with one of my clients who's doing very well. He's a core-to-the-table advisor, and he works almost exclusively with dentists in practice. And we discovered that there was like a whole bunch of things that we would recommend to all dentists that all dentists have. And so we created a list of we called it then an ideal portfolio for dentists. And then it got to be for doctors and for business owners. And then we realized the trick behind it, the key was not ideal profile, but portfolio rather. But the trick and the key was if money were no object. So that's what we're trying to say. This is what you could do. So what you could do then, Mr. Prospect, Miss Prospect, Mrs. Prospect, is this. Let me set this up for you if money were no object. Now you're getting a chance to tell people what you think first. So it's not a kind of a, what did Zig Ziglar, another fellow who passed away, unfortunately, what a great guy. It was like that Nigasop thing. Now I got you, you SOB kind of thing. You tell me what you want, and I kind of go on a fishing expedition, and I tell you, well, I'll give you something different. I'll lay it out first. This uses psychological reciprocity. And that's a good thing because you're playing straight with them. So let me tell you, here's what you do. So what would you actually do with this? Well, you'd ensure that your personal overhead was paid in a health disaster. If you get injured or sick, and you know what, you couldn't pay your $8,000 a month of personal overhead at home. This is a disability insurance kind of play. Now, the order of these is up to you. And your advice is up to you. Where I have the ellipse, those 3 dots at the end of the sentence, this is where in the actual document, and if you ask me, jr@jimroot.com, I have a list of these things, and here's sort of the thing. We've got it laid out. We can send you the version of this, my version, and so you can see it. I send you the PDF, not a problem. Because it says, now here's my advice. Yes, you could, and certainly in Canada at least, about 2/3 of your income tax-free you can receive. You would do that. You would do that with lifetime benefits, any occupation. We would say all that stuff, the best possible disability policy. In 2 or 3 sentences, you lay that out. That's step 1. What else would you do? Well, you provide for your income to continue your family at death. So if you didn't make it, you'd make sure that if you're making $100,000 a year, that $100,000 kept going to your family, even if you weren't there. And you could be saying, well, Jim, we don't provide 100% of income to surviving families. That's crazy. You would if money were no object, though. If money were no object, why would you make it any different? You're spending all your money now. They'll believe me, they'll find a way to spend it if money were no object. That's the hook, and that's the key. You'd also protect your family from your mortgage. Now, mortgage insurance, there's all kinds of sides on this issue, but there's a lot of mortgage insurance concepts. But what I like to say is this: you need to protect your family from your mortgage. Your mortgage, it will be very, very fine, thank you, on its own. It doesn't need protection, but you do. Because if you don't pay it, you get behind, your mortgage will kick you to the curb. So we would maximize the coverage. You have a $500,000 mortgage, probably would have a maybe add 10% to that to make sure all the costs are considered in closing a deal on a closed mortgage. You pay the penalties on early backing out of mortgages, that sort of thing. But that's what we would do. What else? Well, you'd cover your budget if you had cancer, heart attack, or stroke, or any other, the whole bunch of dread diseases, which is a critical illness play. And if you sell that sort of product, it could be a great thing for you as well. What else? Well, here's another one. Well, you protect your family against the loss of spousal income. There'd be spousal insurance. You would do that too. You do it on life. You do it on CI. We would tell them the full story. You'd insure both breadwinners in the family, because that's everybody spends. Today, most families are dual income families, and that money is really that important. So you want to make sure you set it up that way for them as well. You set up your children for life financially. A permanent life insurance contract could be an extraordinary thing in the long term. You do that for your kids. You'd have the cash you need for all your medical bills at home or while you travel. Certainly in the United States, this is a huge thing, medical insurance. Again, the order is up to you. Those are things that we do in helping putting this stuff together in the order that makes sense, best sense for you. You have a plan to care for you when you couldn't care for yourself, a long-term care plan. You have the retirement savings you want and need. Now we keep going. What else? Well, and here's a bunch of them. I'll just run them quickly across here. Whoops, too far. You'd maximize the value of your business interests. Life insurance can help you do that. You'd have business overhead protection for disability for yourself if you qualify. You'd have cost-effective employee benefits. You'd have a shareholder and key employee protection plan on death or disability. If those are things you do, that's why they're kind of asterisks here, you would include that too. Or maybe you just do that because you're on a business side. But this allows you to do that. And you explain after each one of them what your best advice is. This is a best advice process. So you've given that out at the very beginning. That's what we're trying to do here. Now, here's how it wraps up. Of course, money is always an object, and that's how I help you would say to your client. Here's the deal. You know, what I do is I help you sort out your financial wants and allocate your budget so you create the best possible plan for you and your family and your business. Now, by starting with the best possible plan you could available, you will get your best. What's the best for you, considering your situation and your budget? And that gives you kind of all the everyday peace of mind that you can have, and that's what we're after here. So which of these issues then would be most important to you? And if you have it written out, it's not so hard to then say, have a look here and see which one of these, and you can just check it off. What would be number one? What would be number two? How about number three? And now you're doing their work for them. And you'd say, okay, well, let's start there then, frankly, why not? And now I need to ask you some questions. And you know what? You're in. Now you're into that fact finding or into the relationship engagement document, I think probably first, and then the questions you ask it. Of course, we would go into all of that, and we have more information here. But I think this is a universal sales starter, because what it does, it leads into anything else you do, whether you're an investment advisor, your securities license, whether you're just strictly life insurance. I mean, almost anything. You could be a P&C, you could be a multi-line. It would work as equally well. But what it does is it packages up your best advice if money were no object. That's the idea. So let me give you a couple things just quickly here. We talk about ICON protocol, and I want to give it just a short story about why this is that important. ICON protocol, I call it the secret to your success. Everybody who's an icon, a representative symbol of what it means to be the best in the business, follows these four core competencies, and you'll see them here on that screen. Inspiration, communication, organization, and numeration. That's what you have to have. You have to be inspired to inspire others, and that creates persistence to keep making the calls. And you have to have a story to do that. Communication is the next step, of course, and that is what creates attraction, and that all comes from scripts. And that's why these scripts are important. You will naturalize them over time, of course, but you have to have them. And you think about this. Anybody who's any good that you listen to and you're busy writing down their notes, you're writing down what they say because they have scripts that they repeat on a regular basis. Organization is, of course, how you get consistency, and that comes from having a business model or how you make money. And finally, numeration, which is just counting. That's you numerate your business if you want to improve, you numerate if you want to accelerate your business, and that comes from having targets, and that's really how you improve things. So let me tell you one last thing as I get out of here. This guy looks remarkably like he could be my brother, but he's not. It's U.S. Navy SEAL Team 6 leader Rob O'Neill. Many of you have seen Rob on Fox News, perhaps, or otherwise in the United States. An outstanding young fella, a hero in so many ways. But he tells me this, and I think it's so important that we all remember this. And it's simply this. He said, you know, if you want to excel, he said, you can never dwell on your failures, your anger, even your success. You can't dwell on it. You can't indulge your fear. This is a scary thing. You can't indulge it. They can't as SEALs. And I had such an eye-opening thing when he talked to me about that. You can't indulge it. And man, does it happen in this business. We get scared. We even get excited. And we overdo it and we lose it. And you can't. In his business, you'd be dead. In our business, you're figuratively dead. And that's the difference you have to do. And that mission focus, you know about better than me, is what you have to do. So I talked about this then, about being bold. It's my word of the year, bold, which to me means build out large dreams. It's the deal. And I love the quote from von Goethe, whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. That's what we're after here. And there's no magic anywhere, of course. All there is just work. So that's the story of Money Were No Object. Of course, if you're interested in a coaching call, I can do that for you. And of course, through Insurance WebEx, you're going to get a special deal from me, special discount as well. Always available. Check me out on Facebook at facebook.com, Jim Ruda TV, and you get free video all the time. So, Andre, we're done here, and I'm into probably a little bit longer than we thought, but are there any questions from anyone?
Okay, Jim, great. So what I'm going to do now, because I was muting microphones during the call, and if I unmute them all, I think we will have chaos of sounds outside. So I will please say please to everybody, if you can use a chat for the questions. The chat is below on the bottom of your Zoom window. You should have it, and please type in your questions there, and I will make sure that Jim receives them. If you are joining us on the phone, because we have a lot of people on the phone, and you would like your question answered, that's fine. You can also raise your hand and I'll unmute you for that purpose. But if you're on the phone, send your questions to support@jimruda.com. So we have Michael Broderick here who raised his question. Michael, you're unmuted now. You can ask.
Hey, Michael.
I see right what I wanted, which was your email, Joe.
There you go.
I guess you're going to send us an offer also.
I beg your pardon?
Insurance WebEx. You're going to send us an offer from Insurance WebEx on coaching?
Yes. Yes, and I think what I'll do, I mean, in addition, Michael, you actually raised the point I was going to mention. I will also send to all of you, and Andre and I will get to this, we'll have all your emails. We're going to send you the Advisor Craft report. So we do a monthly podcast coaching program, and there is a report on this, and I think it's got probably 10 pages long, so it's not quite a script of what this is. Of course, you've got this on the recording. We'll also send you the script, Michael, so not the script, but rather a report on this to give you an idea, some more of the background behind it as well. So email us there. And if you want to check directly with me, I can talk to you about coaching as well. Sure to give you that 30-minute phone call at my expense first.
Thank you, Jim. I've got your email. I'll email you something too. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Michael, thank you for your question. We have here a question from Brian Solik. He is asking, will we get a transcript? You will get a recording which I think is even better. Sorry, Jim, for me answering this question, but you will all get a video recording of this call. I'll edit it, so I think that would be even better. Anybody else want to raise their hand, ask a question, or type it in the chat box? We are here accepting them.
I should say that while we're waiting for a question, I just so if the people are still listening, here's what I'm. As far as the AdvisorCraft study groups go, we're trying to start off a few programs across the U.S. Probably one in Florida and another out of Las Vegas, I think, to be able to help advisors meet on a regular basis. One through a webinar like this, probably twice in 2 months succession, and then in person on a quarterly basis to try to help you get. So try to keep on top of everything. What we know is that study groups have been helping top advisors get better for decades and decades. It's hard to put together, but we have a system like that. We're going to be developing, setting that up in the next little while to help you get better.
All right. Anybody else have a question? We still have 50 people here participating. And if we don't, I guess, Jim, you can wrap it up, and maybe if they have a question later, they can send you an email, like we said before.
Yeah, for sure they can. Look, folks, I appreciate the opportunity of being with you. It's a delight from all across the North America, really, to be chatting with you. Look, I think that you do great work, and I know most of you are, if not all of you, are life insurance licensed. A few of you securities licensed as well. You do great work. It's important work. It's stuff that needs to be done, and that really helps people in the biggest way. I mean, you provide cash, tax-free cash, when people need it most and have it least. It doesn't get any better than that. It really requires that story. I refer you again to that ICON protocol idea, where you need to remember that your inspiration is what carries the day. You need to have that. Now, you may have that somewhere in your business today, in what you're doing, or your rationale from doing this. And you know this from talking to any top advisor. There's some idea that just drives them to do the job. It drives them. And that's the thing that we really want we want you to have, to find out what that is. We do something called a TAP analysis, talent, appeal, and profitability, to find that approach, because I think that's so key. The other issue on this that really makes a huge difference in you making the decision, and it really has to do with inspiration, is which audience inspires you most. Which audience? What I mean by that is, if you find the right group of people for who you are and what your ideas are, you make a huge impact on business. You can make the call, you can help them, you can get better, more referrals. I'll also suggest a little bit about this. If you ask me...
So we have...
Sorry?
Yes. We have here some of technical questions. So can you send today's video without deleting Jim's words? And then Dixon explained, please do not edit out Jim's verbiage in this video. And I won't. You will get a complete call with slides. You will see slides and hear Jim perfectly fine. Then we have a question from Mike here. Just a note for you on Zoom. I could not get sound by way of my computer. I don't know if it was just me. Phone works fine, but usually I take notes, and holding phone was a bit of a nuisance. That could be two ways. I'm sorry, Mike, if you couldn't get in via your computer or a mobile device, maybe. That is because the webinar room today was packed. It was full. Maybe the line was busy, and maybe it was the internet connection on your end. For our next webinar, we will make sure that everything runs smoothly, so everybody could get in. I know that some people stayed out, so I'm sorry for that. But like I said, you will receive a video. And then was a question, when will you send today's video? Well, the video needs to be processed, so tomorrow. Jim? Okay.
Well, listen, I'm trying to think of where I was exactly in there. But look, we're trying to help you out. And I think this is, because I know that if you want to be great, following ICON protocol will help you. It's a simple strategy on using all this together. But also on top of this, I think if money were no object, there's a great, like I said, universal sales starter. We will send you some more information about this so that you can see some ideas and fill in some gaps and some blanks, and you could combine it with this. Remember, if money were no object, it was really something that you customize to suit your purposes and your needs and your product line. And like I said, whether you could be a multi-line, you could be you could be a stockbroker, never even sell any life insurance, and that's okay too, because you don't. It's not about that. It's about getting those questions and setting them up appropriately for your situation. Like I say, it builds on two things that I find to be extraordinarily valuable. One is, that first question in the introductory session, which is, obviously you have a reason for sitting down and talking to me today. Would you mind telling me what that is? Man, that is a powerful, powerful question. I think the best first question ever. And then on the other side, of course, would you have any objection to reviewing your life insurance policies with me? This is an approach being used by top advisors. Because you see, people don't know what they have, but looking for quality and looking for value is a big, big issue today. And if you can do that, you can help people that way. It gets you in the door and provide a high quality review. And if you ask me, I can even show you how to fill in the review stuff too. We have a report on that. So we've buried this in here somewhere now, 50 minutes in, but you'll be able to find it, or rather 45 minutes in. We'll be able to help you out that way too. Anything else there, Andre?
No, not now. So I think we are good.
All right. Well, listen, just to wind this up then, again, talking to you today about if money were no object as the universal sales starter, something you layer into your current sales strategy and your current sales approach. And I think you start with this and these ideas customized to your situation, regardless of what that is. We're not trying to replace your sales approach. You work with my buddy Harry Hoopus or anybody else, not trying to replace any of that. Just trying to say, here's a kind of that sales starter approach that you can use to be more successful. And when you do, I'll be able to preserve the business and propel advisors even further. Listen, I thank you for taking your time today to be with us. And Andre, thank you for your time to assist. Wish you all the very best. God bless you. And you know what? We'll be back on this program again coming up real soon. Just watch insurancewebex.com for more information on my next program.
Bye-bye, everybody.